Welcome back. Now, all of the countries visited by President Muhammadu Buhari have pledged their support for the new administration as it battles Boko Haram insurgency. Before now, they had provided support in form of troops fighting alongside the Nigerian army. How much progress have they made? For 6 years, the Nigerian military has been involved in guerrilla tactic conflicts with Boko Haram insurgents. Increase of military deployments have done little to reduce the number of casualties resulting from them. While the Nigerian government at the time developed strategies alongside military chiefs, it seemed Boko Haram acquired new machinery for warfare and began overrunning towns and cities, renaming them and claiming victory against the government. Soon, even the towns and cities within Nigeria were not enough for the militants who had a vision of carving out a caliphate after the order of the Islamic State, which had begun doing the same in Iraq and in Syria. Videos emerged online of Boko Haram leader Abubakar Shekau declaring control over even cities once under emergency rule. It was clear the military needed to come up with better strategy on how to quell the group or allow the Nigerian territory succumb to the extremists. Not satisfied, Boko Haram continued its activities outside of Nigeria, attacking towns and villages close to the border and kidnapping women and children. Although the government appealed to leaders of these countries such as Cameroun and Niger, they sat aloof, preferring instead to contain the group's activities, and they made much progress. So they thought, until France stepped into the situation. Following a call by President François Hollande, leaders from Niger, Cameroun, Chad and Benin, including Nigeria, met in France last year to discuss the formation of a multinational joint task force and information sharing between the militaries. Since then, the Nigerian military, alongside its counterparts from Niger and Chad, have launched several offensives against Boko Haram and retaken cities and towns. In the last few weeks before the new administration in Nigeria was sworn in, the military launched with fervor more attacks on Boko Haram insurgents in the northeast. Hundreds of people held captive by the group were released and have been placed in internally displaced camps where their needs are being catered to by the government. Nigeria still requires help from the international community. Boko Haram has not abandoned its mission of reclaiming the whole of Nigeria as a caliphate and has identified with the Islamic State, hoping for new inspiration to do so. The gains made by the multinational task force prove clearly that if the war on terror must be won, then it must be fought collectively. Professor Femi Adegbolu is a security expert and an international affairs analyst. He talks to us about the external help Nigeria is soliciting in the fight against insurgency. Over the last few days, we've seen an increase in the number of Boko Haram attacks in the country. Why do you think there's a seeming lapse in the Nigerian army's offensive against the militant group?
Well, that should be expected because, there is a change of government. Because, change of guard also, although the personnel remain the same, but you don't expect the same, the same intensity that was there when GEJ was there. And of course, knowing that another government is now taking over so there is, normally, you see, you don't expect the same intensity. I think that's exactly what happened. Apart from that, it's just a way of testing the psychology of the army itself. That okay, now that we know that a new government is coming, let's keep the tempo on so that the new government or whoever is coming will know that we are still very much around and we are not relenting. So I think it's a way of just welcoming them, and so you welcome into the battle. We are still very much here. So there is it's not a matter of personality that is in government that is going to change our ideology or change what we are fighting for. So we are still very much here. I think that is a way of just telling them. And also it could be a way of scaring the individuals that are going to take over the mantle of leadership of fighting against Boko Haram. Also maybe to discourage the CEC himself, who has relocated or attempted to relocate the command center to Maiduguri, to say, well, look, whether you relocate or not, we are still very much on ground. So your effort may be in futility. You know, it's a psychological warfare.
So speaking of, those visits that he made to Niger and to Chad, where he solicited support, and the presidents have promised that Nigeria will receive support. But before now, these countries' troops have been supporting Nigeria in the fight against terror. You don't think that the support they have given so far has done any good?
Oh, no, I'm not saying that, of course. They've helped Nigeria to actually recapture some of the territories that were in the hands of Boko Haram. So, yeah, courtesy of Niger army and some of the JTF that was entered into, so that enabled Nigeria to capture some territory. So we are not in any way saying that their help has not done anything. They have done something, but we need to reinforce our commitment. Their commitment. We need to be very sure of their commitment in this new administration, because when you talk about JTF in international relations, sometimes it has its own drawback here and there, because each of these JTF has they are all coming from different countries, and so all of them, they have their command structure. It's sometimes the kind of information to be leaked out and all that. So you find it difficult to keep the information, because the critical information, for example, the critical information that should be kept within the JTF. So not many of them or all of them actually value this, this information. You could leak from any distance, and that's very vital. So once the information is not directed or modulated by a structure that is supposed to keep the information, it leaks out to the enemy. And once it leaks out to the enemy, so that porous aspect is where the malevolent individual will lap on to perpetrate mayhem. So this thing sometimes may not be intentionally. It's not as if they are intentionally leaking it, but maybe through careless talk or some carelessness here and there, not knowing the importance of that information and all that. And also, we need 100% commitment from our neighbors.
We'll continue our conversation with Professor Adegbolu after the break. Please stay with us.